If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified of all future uploads, and check the description box below the video for important links and information. How you doing, guys? This is Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. This video is about an assortment of camping-style utensils that I've had the opportunity to use, and I'm just going to give my opinions on them, what is good about them, what's bad about them, so you can maybe help you decide which one you would like to use for camping, for your bug-out bag, for whatever. And it's kind of interesting to me how they kind of always try to add a lot of weird features to camping utensils when the normal utensils we use every day are pretty standard, and you could certainly just bring like a normal fork or something with you. But you know, there are different situations that come into play, and I think weight is one of the things that they're usually trying to control for. Weight and ease of cleanliness, and the ability to multi-function or use multi-functions, not have to bring multiple pieces of gear. So the first one, a couple of these were actually, I think this one was from BattleBox, and this was actually the Light My Fire spork spoon fork combo, and this one actually broke on me, and the reason it broke is because I had been cramming it into this kit, which was actually also from BattleBox, and I do really like this kit. This is the Wildo. If any of this stuff is on Amazon, I'll go ahead and put the links in the description so you guys can find it. But I'm not sure if all of it is. Some of it was from BattleBox, and some of it, one of them I got from REI or something. But this is a pretty cool little plastic mess kit that has a cutting board and a strainer built in, 2 different size collapsible cups, and then you end up with 2 different containers. I've used this and ate out of it several times while camping, and I have found that it's a little small for the huge steak and potatoes meals that I like to eat while camping, but it certainly is a useful and well-functioning little mess kit, and nice and lightweight for bug-out bag. The utensil that it came with was this spork, and it has a really short handle, which I found I don't like, and that was one of the problems with this one that broke. But this had a kind of a curve to it, like that, and I had crammed it in to this thing a few times too many, and it did snap. So it might not be super fragile, but it's not super resilient either. But it had some other flaws as well that I'll get into. But this one, the Wildo, I think it's called, the Wildo spork, has a couple things that I like and don't like. I'll get into the things I don't like first. The handle's too short, but that's obviously because it has to fit in here. So you don't have a whole lot to hold on to, especially if you're doing any sort of like stirring in a pot or something. The way it's shaped, which I also think is because it has to fit in here in a certain way, makes it that when you're holding the spoon in a normal way, it's very shallow. And if you're holding the spoon in like a normal way, there's no way to hold like moisture or water or soup or fluid or anything like that. You would have to hold it almost flat like this. And this is a problem with sporks in general, is that because you have the tines for the fork on there, that gives less actual spoon area for scooping. So you only get the most basic scooping style ability with it, and you can't get a whole lot of liquid if you're really trying to have like some sort of watery soup or something. Not a huge deal. I do like the little serrated cutting edge on there. Not going to get you through a steak or any gristly pieces of sinewy vegetables or anything like that, but you can cut through, you know, boiled potatoes and carrots and softer things like that. And the tines are really long on this. Is of the ones here that I have, this is probably the second best one for stabbing. The best one, of course, being the one that has an actual fork on it. But yeah, so its shape is too weird, length is too short, spoon is too shallow, weight is really good, it seems pretty tough, and the tines are pretty good for stabbing. So that's the pros and cons of that one. This one, the pros and cons, I'll go with the cons first. Obviously it broke, so it's not super tough. Another one is because of how short it is and includes both the spoon and the fork. If you're actually using both the spoon and the fork, it's very difficult to hold anyway. It's not shaped very ergonomically because it's short and has a spoon on this. So you have to like hold it in a way that would not rub the spoon if you're using it, or vice versa. But the good things about it are that it does have an actual spoon and an actual fork. So if you're not really into the whole spork thing, something like this is going to probably serve you better. A little bit of a serrated knife on there. But in general, I couldn't recommend this one because it did snap on me without really abusing it too bad. So the two ones that I've actually had the most interest in were this K-bar multifunction eating utensil and the Gerber Devour, which this is the only one that I actually purchased individually after researching a lot of these. And so I'll do that one last. But this one was from a battle box as well. And it has a plastic knife inside the handle here. You can see that there. So the bad things about this, I'll do bad first, then good. You always want to start with the bad news, right? Is one of the things is that the spoon is very small on the end. For the length of this and everything, like compare it to the size of this spoon, size of the Gerber Devour. The spoon portion is fairly tiny, but it's fairly deep. So I was eating actually some yogurt out of this thing, and like you have to like try to like scoop the stuff out of there with your lips or something because it doesn't work. It's too small and shallow. It's almost like a little cup at the end of this. But it has decent tines, and obviously the having to put the knife back in there can be a problem if you don't have a way to clean it yet. Because if you just had to stash it away and didn't have a chance to clean it yet, then even if you clean it later, it's going to be really difficult to effectively clean out. So you may just have to make the decision to never put it back together dirty. And weight-wise, it's still not too bad. But I think it's unnecessarily bulky for something that's basically just a spoon and a knife. But it is two things in one. So if you had a spoon and a knife, then you probably have more bulk anyway. Not sure the price on this because it did come through BattleBox, so I can't really speak on the price of any of these except for the Gerber. But I do like that the knife is more substantial. You could actually cut through meat and things like that potentially with this knife, even though it is plastic. And it has a pretty decent edge on it. And even when it is taken apart, the handle isn't that short. It does make it shorter, but not too short that you can't use it. Pretty much is as long as the other ones except the Gerber. So this is my second place one out of the batch here. But my favorite is the Gerber Devour here, which I actually purchased. And because I researched different kinds of utensils out there because I wasn't really happy with. And I bought this before this came in the battle box, so maybe I wouldn't have if I had this one. This would probably be adequate. But there's a couple things about this that I really, really like. I will say that I would probably get the titanium version. This is, I guess, aluminum. And I can flex it pretty easily. And it's not hard to imagine that this could get bent or something like that. And the titanium one's probably a little harder to bend. But I'll go with the bad things about this first. Again, the spoon is very shallow. I mean, that's just kind of a factor when you have the spork because the spoon portion only comes up to where those holes start, so you're only really getting this part, and it is pretty shallow. But the handle is long. I like that it has a long handle. This has a piece, and this was one of the reasons that I really liked it, that comes off with a bottle opener, can opener, and it also, which this is very useful, serves as a stand so that when you put your, let's make it this way, when you put your spoon down on a picnic table, a log, or whatever, it'll hold the end that you actually put in your mouth up off the surface, which is great because that's one thing I'd encountered while camping was you wouldn't have, if you had to set your spoon or your utensils down, there's not really a lot of options. You can't really set them in this pot or anything a lot of time because they're plastic sometimes. And speaking of which, this can also serve as a pot hanger. So if you have the edge of the pot, you can have it hanging on the edge like that, either going inside the pot or on the outside edge, whatever. So it acts as a stand and a hanger, in addition to its function as a can opener and a bottle opener, which I used on the last camping trip because we got some bottled adult beverages. The tines on this as a negative is, I said I was going to do the negatives first, but I'm kind of mixing that. They're not great for stabbing. They, the ends are just far too blunt. You can see they're flat. So it's, you can't even really stab anything with that. So it's almost not really that functional as a fork. But most things you can just scoop anyway, so it's not a big deal. So that's probably its biggest weakness is it doesn't really have that great of stabbing capabilities, with the exception of maybe the first tine here that has an actual edge on it. These could be a little bit sharper there. But weight is great, size is great, length, and the multi-functions definitely make this the winner in my mind. I would probably just pay a few extra bucks for the titanium one just to be safe. This one was, I think it's only 15 bucks. A titanium one might be like 18 or 20 bucks. But this is totally decent too. I haven't had any issues with it. It hasn't bent on me. I can just imagine that maybe it would. But it does take up a little more space than the other one. But yeah, so that is the different options that I've used. These 4. There's tons of others out there. You know, this certainly isn't an exhaustive list. And like I said, if you're trying to save bucks, there's no reason why you couldn't just throw in a regular fork or spoon into your kit. There's plenty of lightweight metal ones out there that aren't going to weigh much more than this. And you're really not going to have too many issues, especially if you're not doing backpacking or something like that. You don't need a dedicated like camping or bug out utensil. You can just put one in there. Even something like an MRE spoon is totally usable. And it has the benefit of this as well as having a much longer handle, which I do like. So this is my pick. Let me know if you guys have different kinds of camping utensils or if you just use normal kitchen utensils. And thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Like I said, any links to any of these, if I can find them, will be in the description, as well as links to my fantastic t-shirts and other things. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, and don't forget you can support yourself and this channel by checking out rulethewastelandstore.com, where we have an ever-increasing amount of survival and preparedness gear, including one of the best survival fishing kits on the market.